Welcome to this independent podcast. My name is Adam Hills. I have the pleasure this evening of taking a little bit of a trip down memory lane um, and speaking to someone who was part of a band who shaped a lot of my youth and were part of a massive community of brilliant bands in the sort of the late and mid noughties into the 2010s. Um, my guest tonight is a guy called Matt Gwilt, and he was part of a band called the Sunshine Underground, who perhaps didn't register on the headlines of many people through their history, but they left a huge impact on the people that really supported them. They had an incredible live presence. They recorded four albums during their tenure before they split in, I think, 2016. Um, Tonight, I speak with Matt, who is now embarking on a solo career. Matt's released a number of singles over the last year or so and is gearing up to launch his debut album in a few weeks' time. So, without further ado, let me welcome to the stage Mr. Matthew Gwilt. How are you, sir?
Hello. Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good,
You
thanks.
good?
Yeah,
Yeah, good stuff. We've tried for some time to get this podcast underway, so it's good to finally get you here and have
yeah,
a catch up with you. It's been a long time since sort of we last spoke and since sort of the TSU days.
yeah.
Um, and I guess
You,
actually, like, just to kick us off, first of all, how are you? How is life, and how is sort of life post TSU?
yeah, it's good. Yeah, life is good. I live in Manchester now. So Sunshine Underground, we're based in Leeds for like 10-ish years. The rest of the band still live in Leeds. I see them now and again. But yeah, I live in Manchester and I've done for about 5 years, 4 or 5 years now. So yeah, I'm really good, mate.
Good stuff. And how do you reflect back on sort of the legacy of TSU?
It was good, but then I do get times where people say, "Oh yeah, I saw you at this gig," and blah blah blah. And for example, you at the start of this reminded me of that gig we played, and I can't remember. Um, I literally can't remember. So we played a lot of shows. Um, like God knows how many that actual number is, but it must be in its hundreds or maybe even thousands. I don't know. I'm not sure, but yeah, it was. I had a great time from what I can remember.
I think that says a lot of it. I'm going to try and if my tech allows me to do so, just pop up on screen. Is that going to work? I don't know if that's popped up or not, but there was a picture I saw of the band, I think taken in about must have been about 2009.
Right.
I don't know if that's come up. Yeah, if that pops up
Yeah.
on screen in the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone looking a little bit younger, more hair and all that
Right.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that was taken from I think the lead up to the second album, um, which was Nobody's Coming to Save You. And obviously the band then changed kind of direction musically with the third album. And I guess as I listen to the material that you've released so far, it feels much more aligned to that sort of third and fourth album. And I guess part of one of my other questions is going to be how much of an influence and an input you had into that change of direction and that sound.
Um, I think I didn't necessarily head that different direction, but we all well actually well so during the third album, um, which was released in 2014, I think. Daly left, so we were a four-piece. Daly left just before that album. When we started to write that album, like a couple of years before, yeah, Daly decided to leave. So then that left the writing process to the three of us because we all
Hmm.
used to took the royalties, songwriting credits equally.
Hmm.
Then Daly left, and that kind of changed the feel of the creativity a little bit, but in a good way. But I think we saw that as when Daly left, we were like, do you know what, we can just do whatever we want now. And we, we were always influenced by electronic music, dance music. I mean, we were
Hmm.
named after a Chemical Brothers song.
Yeah.
And, in those early days, we wanted to make electronic dance inspired music, but we didn't know how to, and we could only play guitars. So yeah, by the third album, we learned how to play synths and program computers and whatnot. So yeah, yeah, and also when Daly left and we had that enthusiasm to be able to do whatever we wanted, we thought, you know what, we'll just call the album, we'll self-title it as well.
Hmm.
So it definitely, that third album for me is one of my favorites, I think.
Yeah, it's a brilliant album, and there was a fourth album that followed, but was kind of tied up with a farewell tour. And I think, if I recall at the time, it was there was no big fallout. It was just, time to call it a day. Sort of getting on for nearly 10 years now, on from that final raucous gig at the Brudenell Social Club.
Oh,
Again, just
were you there?
I was there, yeah, yeah,
Oh, were you?
there for
Oh, brilliant.
yeah, I was there for the
Yeah.
last one.
Oh, that's good. Did I see you?
Um, I don't know.
No.
We had me and my wife had a few beers that day. We
Yeah.
enjoyed it.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, that
But
was
yeah,
good.
like long time ago now, and again, just kind of as you reflect on that final farewell tour, and kind of as the band came to an end, was there a feeling of a job well done? Were there any regrets? And I think you said you still keep in touch loosely with the band. Kind of how
Yeah.
has that period of transition been?
Yeah. Yeah. We all keep in touch. I think we didn't see each other for a long time after we did split. I mean, Craig and Stu are still working on stuff. They're working on their own music. They've lived in Leeds ever since and work with each other every day. Daily, I don't see him as much, but we're due a meet up soon. But yeah, the transition of when I think we felt like, yeah, job done, but it was a quite a stressful span of time, I think, for the Sunshine Underground, because there were like, where bands were releasing albums like every year or every other year, we were releasing albums like almost like there was a 4 year gap between the second album and the
Yeah,
first.
yeah.
And I think the same again for the third. Um, and it wasn't really our own choice. That was all to do with like record labels and stuff and management and whatnot and legal stuff that we had to kind of sort out in the background. So it was quite a frustrating time, and we didn't really want to. We weren't releasing music as quickly as we wanted, and
Hmm.
we felt that you've got to keep a certain momentum going with when you're in the music industry. So yeah, I think things were a bit slow for us, but in terms of like making an impact, I think yeah, we definitely felt like there was we made a mark.
Yeah.
Like it's the first album really, I think did that, which
Still
is
ranks as one of my favorite albums of all time.
yeah, it's going to be 20 years, isn't it, next year?
Well, time for a one-off reunion tour it again.
Well, you never know.
No, do you know?
You know,
Do you know what though? I do think "Raise the Alarm." a lot of the albums that I listen to from that era of music, kind of, I listen back to them and I'm like, yeah. But I do think that Raise the Alarm still sounds as fresh and as urgent as it did nearly 20 years ago. It is a fantastic album.
Yeah. Um, there's something about it, isn't there? Like, and it, we, I can't, I thought it then and I still think it now. It didn't really sound like the other stuff that was going on,
Yeah.
the other indie stuff. We did get pigeonholed into that indie bracket, which,
Mm.
I think, we had, there was, our influences were different to other bands, I think. And I think that's what showed.
Yeah, I'm not quite just also being indie. You also got chucked into that new rave
New rave, yeah.
pigeonhole with
But,
Clactons and goodness knows what else was going on back then. Yeah,
yeah, CSS, New Young Pony Club.
yeah, I was on that tour as well. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, yeah. I do remember that actually, that tour.
Yeah, that was carnage. And actually, I
Yeah,
remember obviously there was a massive buzz about Claxons back then, but I do recall I think I went to probably two of the nights, one in London and maybe one in Leeds or Manchester or something. And I remember there being a real with all the buzz about Claxons, but I think Sunshine Underground almost stole the show on both the gigs that I went to.
right.
And again, I think it was just that the live show was so strong, especially around the Raise the Alarm album. So, anyways, look,
Yeah.
we could probably sit and talk about TSU for hours, but
I don't
let's
mind.
talk
I
about
don't mind.
no, let's talk about you because I confess I was surprised. I think just through Instagram to suddenly see Matt Gwilt music and that you had gone solo and your first single Decorate came out I think August last year.
Yeah.
Just tell us a little bit about your journey musically since TSU and leading up to sort of the release of that first single.
Um. So I, yeah. I mean, when the band split, there was definitely a hole. There was a hole, a void, that was left where the band was and where, like, that kind of a gap of creativity sat with me. And but I didn't really think about doing anything musical for about 2 years, maybe 2 or 3 years after the band. But then I just felt like I wasn't bothered. Like I thought, well, I'm just gonna have a break. I'll have a break from that. But it, that maybe not even a break. I literally just didn't think about music. I
Hmm.
listened, but I didn't want to make it. Um, and then I met my partner Lisa in Manchester, and she is an artist and printmaker and designer, and she is really creative, and she kind of like made me realize that that's what I should be doing, is just creating things, creating something, even if it's
Hmm.
just and so I was like, well, shit, what am I going to? I haven't got any equipment, you know. Um, I my only guitar was I got a property that I rent out, and that it's like on show in that. So like I don't have access to that guitar, and so I was like, well, I better start building a studio and stuff, and bought another guitar and just to kind of plonk some chords out, and bought some equipment, like, and then I don't know if you can see, I've got like
Yeah, yeah, all the electronic stuff.
yeah, got stuff like this.
Oh wow, amazing.
Yeah,
So so there is still a quite a big electronic influence in that sound now, yeah.
yeah, yeah. There is. I don't really overthink it. I just if I like, I'll come up with. I've realised recently that some of my best songs are written on guitar first.
Mm-hmm.
Decorate was written on the guitar. I Feel Free wasn't, but Are We Dreaming was. And I just realised that, I write my best songs on guitar first, but then I won't ever record it. Like, it doesn't seem right to record the guitar.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't overthink it. I just do what I think sounds good, and whatever synth sounds. Or I don't really use samples either, like some electronic artists. Don't really sample stuff. I just make my own stuff from scratch.
And are you producing all of your own music as well, or do you work with
Yeah,
someone else? Yeah.
yeah, produce it all myself. There was one song where I worked with FC Kahuna, which I've
The mate.
known since the Sunshine Underground days.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah. I remember that.
he produced a song of ours called "You Never Party," which was a
Yep.
B-side. He
Yeah,
also
yeah. Great song.
he produced the last song on Raise the Alarm, which is called Raise the Alarm.
Yep.
Yeah, he did that one. And to be honest, I always thought like he was the best producer that we used. But he didn't do that much. He didn't get to work on that many tunes for us. But
Mm-hmm.
so I contacted him. We kind of always kept in touch, and then I contacted him and said, "Hey, I'm starting to make music again." He was like, "That's brilliant! That's brilliant! That's the best news I've ever heard." And then I was eventually plucked up the courage to ask him, "Would you want to produce one of my songs?" And he was like, "Well, it's got to be the right one. It's got to be, And then he just he said, "Yeah, I'll do it, but it's got to be an amazing song." And I was like, "Well," I think I sent him a song, and he was like, "Nah, it's not that one." I was like, "Oh, great." So then I just kind of went back to the drawing board, and then sent him another idea, and he was like, "Nah, not very good, that." I was like, "Oh, okay." And then I came up with this weird thing off the cuff, not even thinking about it. And I was like, "Oh my God, this is great." Recorded some gibberish lyrics, sent it to him, and he just replied with a message saying, "Oof." And that was Where You Belong.
Yep. Yep.
Which is basically, I mean, who's watching this? Because I was going to say the meaning, but it's not really suitable for kids.
We can put a message on if need be.
Okay, it's a song about mushrooms,
Fair.
magic mushrooms. But it's like there's a hidden meaning. You wouldn't get that just by listening to it. But now I've said that, next time you have a listen to it, you might be like, "Oh right, yeah."
I have to confess that Where You Belong is the favorite one of the five that you've released
Oh,
so far. Yeah,
okay.
I love it. I love it. I think it's just got everything as a song. The sort of I love the intro. It's a very delicate intro. And sort of the soaring vocals at the end. I think it's a cracking tune. It's a brilliant tune, and I think I Feel Free. I love that the sort of almost the Ian Brown Stone Roses esque swagger at the end of it. I think is fantastic.
Yeah, it's
You,
got a
you
kind
sort of
of
mentioned
almost like a Mancunian swagger to it, hasn't it? I think.
absolutely. It really does. It really does.
Yeah.
Um, you sort of said there that sort of the lyrics of Where You Belong were sort of thrown together, so to speak. But I actually, listening to some of the songs, especially Echoes, the last song that you put out,
Okay.
there's a real sort of deep meaning to some of those lyrics.
That
They seem to be quite personal to you.
yeah, Echoes is my favourite, I think, and it means the most to me. And again, written on guitar, but there's no guitar in that. Yeah, that Echoes it kind of just means the most to me. Um, never really written lyrics like that before. It's quite direct, almost, you know, because like Craig never used to like direct lyrics in the Sunshine Underground. You know, he used to write suggestive lyrics that the listener could make anything from. You know, you find your own meaning. But then I think I have always kind of done the same. But with Echoes, it just came out and it was just like, no, I think I'd been listening to some Sam Fender actually, which I don't really. I haven't listened to him since, but there was just a day I've like heard him on the radio and I was like, oh my god, this is actually really good, and like listening to his lyrics, and so yeah, I think that kind of came from listening to Sam Fender.
I was actually going to ask you about where you take some of your influences from. Um, Obviously, you brought out Sam Fender there, but are there any artists at the moment that particularly resonate with you? Or I know you've put a bit of like Bob Dylan and Radiohead out on your Instagram and stuff.
I mean, you know, I hate to kind of be stuck in the mud or like old fashioned, but like, you know, I do love the classics. Like I love early Bob Dylan. And I love. Did you watch that film of him lately? The
No, I can't say I have.
it's amazing, absolutely amazing. Yeah, you should watch that. Radiohead, Blur, the Beatles. You know that they are my kind of they're my fundamentals. And then I just kind of listen to all sorts of stuff. But then, you know, I like to listen to the radio, I listen to like Six Music, and then I'll catch amazing, catchy tunes off the radio, and that'll just inspire me, you know. But then also, like, I do feel a bit out of touch with, as I've got older, I feel a bit out of touch with like new music.
I hear you. I hear
Yeah,
you.
yeah, and you know, if you come across stuff, just like send it to me. Just like tell me about new bands or artists, because like I need somehow to find out about this stuff. Like any help would be.
I'll send you some stuff. You mentioned there about something catchy.
Yeah,
Here's one for you afterwards. There's I've never heard of this guy before. His name's Dwayne,
yeah,
Dewayne, and he's got a song called June that he's just brought out. And it
yeah,
is the most catchy thing that I've heard in a
yeah.
long, long time. And the
Sweat.
chorus, there's a bit of an in there that just reminds me of like Five, the old boy band Five.
Yeah,
So yeah, have a little go on that. Have a little go
yeah,
on that.
right.
So let's jump forward then and say album. You have an album coming out in
Yeah,
June. I forget the exact date, but
yeah,
tell us about the album. What can we expect from it? Is it going to be sort of, made up of a lot of the songs that you've already released, or is it new material?
yeah. So it's actually out this coming Friday.
Oh wow, good
In
timing.
5 days. Um, yeah, it's called A Front for Something. It will have all my singles on it. There's 10 tracks. There's a song. There's going to be another single from it actually called "The City in Me," which is
Ah,
like kind of my love letter to Manchester, I guess you could call it that. And there'll be a video for that coming out, which is filmed me basically on a bike in Manchester.
awesome,
uh,
awesome.
my mate shot it with a camera and a gimbal, riding a bike as well. So it was a bit of a nightmare.
Fair.
uh, and there's a song called "A Front for Something" as well on there. But yeah, there's other tracks that hopefully you'll quite like.
Yeah, no, I think I've heard a snippet of The City and Me from somewhere, and it was definitely one I was hoping would get the light of day. So that's
Yeah.
definitely one I'll be looking forward to. And do you have any plans to tour the album, tour your music, play your music
Um,
live?
yeah, I do, but I'm just like, I'm quite lazy in terms of like finding the urgency, seeing the urgency to play live. Um, I am friends with. I mean, I shouldn't really name drop because I don't know if this is actually happening yet or not. But I mean, I'm friends with like Fiona from. Do you remember a band called The Whip?
Yeah. Oh yes, I remember the word.
Yeah, she lives down the road, which I bumped into her not that long ago, and then I kind of contacted her. I saw her across the street, and I was like, I'm sure that's Fiona from The Whip. And then I found her on Facebook and said, "Do you live in Manchester?" She was like, "Yeah." Um, we we might she might play drums. We have been in a rehearsal room
Okay.
together.
Okay. There we
We
go.
have
Exclusive.
we have played, but then things have just gone a bit dry, and I haven't really. I need to do something about it, you know.
Fair.
But yeah, I do intend on doing some shows. Yeah,
Awesome. Yeah, that'll be good, man. That'll be good. Are the Whips
yeah.
still going? I don't ever remember hearing that they actually split up, but they haven't done anything for years.
No, they're not. I can never remember the bass player's name, but he plays for Elbow.
Oh, okay.
Plays with Guy Garvey now, and I think when
Fair.
I play solo, he plays with him. And the other guys, yeah, I don't know what the other guys doing. Fiona does still play, and she DJs as well. So
I'll
yeah.
play. And looking further afield, if you've allowed yourself to think about this, is this the start of a long fledgling music career, or is it see how it goes?
Yeah, I guess see how it goes, but you know, when I don't want to feel any pressure from it. Like I don't, you know, when me and Lisa got together and she suggested like, you know, it'll be good for your soul if you create music, even if it's just for a hobby. So I'm going to always bear that in mind. And I think now that I've got the ball rolling, and I will with releasing music, I think I'll always release music. Whether it'll be in album form, I don't know, but because this album actually took about 4 years to write. But that's because I didn't know what I was doing. Like
Yeah.
I didn't know what I wanted to sound like at first. So I've actually got like loads of demos. One of the first songs I did was a cover of the Beatles, like Tomorrow Never Knows.
Hmm.
Sounds mental. I mean, I'll send it to you actually. It
Yeah,
sounds
yeah.
mental.
Please.
Um, but kind of good as well. I mean, if I can say that, it's kind of all right. But my friends were like, "You can't release that because it's first of all, it's the Beatles, and it's got to be absolutely shit hot if you're going to do that." And I was like, "Well, I think it might be shit hot actually." But they were like, "No, you can't do that. You can't do that." So anyway, that's on the back burner. But I'll send it you and see what you think. But
Yeah, yeah.
so
Please.
I was experimenting with all sorts of things, you know, at the start. But then now I can write a song and record it sometimes within a couple of days. Whereas at the start of doing all this solo stuff, it maybe 2 or 3 months, I'd be like hanging on onto an idea. And sometimes it wouldn't work, and I'd be like, "I'll scrap it." But now, if I come up with a good idea, I've got a finished product in 2 or 3 days, and I master it myself as well. I've been learning how to do all that kind of stuff, and yeah, doing the whole thing myself. So
Are you, are
yeah.
you are you a perfectionist in that space? Like, will you take 2 or 3 months with the song because it has to be perfect, or
Um, yeah, I guess I was, and I still am a perfectionist, but um, I do like to hear the odd flaw in the recording as well. You know, like a
yeah,
little mistake here and there, or you know. But yeah, in terms of like production and stuff, I'm just become really quick. Because if I can't work quickly, it just frustrates me. Then I'm
Yeah.
close to, like, scrapping an idea. So yeah, I
Uh,
like to work.
I've got one more question for you, Matt, and that is, do you have any ambitions or bucket list items still to tick off in your music career?
Uh, not really, but I mean, yeah, I would like to release an album every couple of years, maybe. So I definitely want to do another one after this. And I mean, it's not going to sound very inspiring for anyone watching, but I do actually want to play a gig as Matt Gwilt as well. So yeah, those are the two things I need to get ticked off: another album and play some shows.
Awesome. I'll make you a promise when you play that first show, I'll be there.
Brilliant.
I'll be there.
And
Look forward to
I'll remember it this time as well. I'll make sure I
it.
remember that gig.
Good stuff. Matt, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you, and thank you for taking the time to come and have a natter. So the album, A Front for Something, out this Friday,
Yeah, 6th.
presumably on Apple Music and Spotify and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, out everywhere.
Awesome. Great stuff. Great stuff. Well, wish you all the best for the future. Really hope to see you at a show at some point soon.
Nice one.
And thank you so much.
Nice one, Hilsey. Cheers, mate.
All the best, mate. Cheers. Speak soon.